views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of Bronxnet or the program underwriters.
Can I have everyone's attention? Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Happy New Year. All that great stuff. I'm glad to see you all, nice and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, as my mom would say. I think we'll start as we usually do with introductions. I am Marika Scott McFadden. I'm the Deputy Borough President in the Bronx.
Tom Lucania, Director of Community Boards.
Martha Savio, General Counsel.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Borough, Community Council representing
I'm Ted Pryor, Advisor to Mark Jones.
Joseph McManus, representing Councilmember Torres.
Rick Walker, Torres office.
Stacey Strong, representing Councilmember Shannon Knox, representing Councilmember Salmon.
Bill Holt, Chair Board 12.
George Flores, Community Board 12.
Jean Hill, Community Board 7.
Aisha Bravo, District Manager, Community Board 7.
Good morning, all. I'm Brown.
Good morning, Paul Phillips, District Manager, Community Board 4.
Good morning, Roberto Crespo, Chair, Community Board 2.
Good morning, Ralph Acevedo, District Manager, Community Board 2.
Good morning and Happy New Year. Cedric Lofton, District Manager, Board 1.
Tracy McDermott, Bronx Borough President's Office.
Marisol Halpern, I'm the Director of Borough Operations for the Bronx Borough President.
Into the gallery.
Abigail Banks, Emergency Management. Good morning, Jackie Carter, New York City Transit.
Good morning, Marisa Cruz, DOT. Good morning, Patrick Choli, Commissioner of Human Rights. Good morning, Arthur Bronx County, Department of Health, FDR Zoning, DEP.
In the next row.
Renee Rotola, Human Council.
Excellent. We had someone just walk in.
Yes, Mohammed, we do that. CB9, plus like check.
Okay. And behind Mr. Muhammad. Awesome. A little bit unexpected, but awesome. And over here.
Good morning, I'm Rachel Finkelstein. I'm with the Mayor's Office.
Okay. Very good. Good morning, everyone, again. Pursuant to Chapter 4, Section 85, and Chapter 69, Section 2706 of the New York City Charter, a joint meeting of the Bronx Borough Service Cabinet and Bronx Borough Board will take place here Thursday, January 24th, starting at 9:15, and at 851 Grand Concourse, room 819. And so we're just going to jump right into the agenda because we will quickly follow our regular joint meeting with our budget hearings, and we have several members of the community that would like to speak. So we're going to invite Ms. Finkelstein to the podium. She's with #OneNYC, and her presentation is on climate policy and programs from New York City's Office of the Mayor. So thank you. Can we get a little encouragement from Ms. Finkelstein?
Good morning, everyone. My name's Rachel Finkelstein. Thank you so much for having me here today. Excited to kick off this meeting. As the Deputy Borough President said, I'm with the Mayor's Office of Climate Policy and Programs, so that's my main role, but I'm also working on the One NYC Plan Update, which is a citywide strategic plan that looks at long-term challenges in New York City. So what is One NYC? It's a collection of ambitious goals and policies that are looking at the most critical issues facing the city and we're looking to prepare the city for the next 30 years. So One NYC, the first One NYC came out in 2015. It was actually released in the Bronx at the Point, and it's it's kind of a blueprint for the city that's looking at 4 main visions of just and equitable growth, sustainability, equity, and resiliency. So every 4 years, the city updates this long-term strategy, and we're right now in the process of updating it for 2019. And so we're kind of going around the city and meeting with a lot of different people to ensure we're focusing on the right things. And this is actually the first time I'm using this particular presentation, so if you have thoughts on it at the end, please let me know. So One NYC will be released in April, and right now we're kind of looking, as I said, to get a lot of input and make sure that this strategy really reflects the needs and aspirations of all New Yorkers, and particularly interested in hearing, obviously what you think this has impacts on in the Bronx, and just how it kind of affects your constituents. So for those of you who may be less familiar with One NYC, whether or not you've read it or seen it, it's kind of working behind the scenes, but you've probably seen the impacts of it in your neighborhood and in this borough. So some of the things that we've done since 2015, when the first plan came out, are 70,000 students have been enrolled in full-day pre-K, which is triple the number of students that were previously in pre-K. 281,000 New Yorkers have been lifted out of poverty or near poverty, which was one of the goals in the first One NYC. We've provided affordable housing access for 275,000 New Yorkers while financing a record number of new housing units. And also crime rates as well as the jail population have gone down to their lowest levels in decades. We've also reduced greenhouse gas emissions by 15% compared with a baseline of 2005. As well as 45% fewer pedestrian fatalities through Vision Zero. And our streets are actually the safest they've been since the dawn of the personal automobile. So all of these initiatives were outlined in One NYC 2015, and this progress kind of demonstrates that when we set ambitious goals of the city and we have kind of a vision to achieve them and look at how they work all together, we can achieve them. So in just 4 years since the first plan came out, the world has changed a lot, the city's changed a lot, and we're trying to take a fresh look with this One NYC update to see just how the city is actually performing for its residents and kind of take stock of our strengths and challenges. So what I'd like to talk about now is just some of the trends that we're considering that might guide the next kind of set of big priorities for the city through this plan, and wanted to share them with you to see if they resonate and to kind of understand where you would focus or where you think kind of the most important challenges and how to address them in the Bronx. So New York City is growing. We continue to have a diversifying and growing economy as well as our population. It's projected to hit 9 million people by 2040. And we know that it's becoming increasingly diverse. Today, no single ethnic group makes up more than 35% of the population of the city, and hundreds of languages are spoken in New York City households. Our economy is also growing rapidly, adding more than, Okay. Adding more than 680,000 jobs since the Great Recession, which is the longest period of job growth since World War II. These jobs are an increasingly broad mix of industries as New York City attracts talent from around the world. And wages have finally begun to catch up thanks to a statewide campaign for a $15 minimum wage, which, as I'm sure you know, went into effect this month for most workers. Wage increases are part of the reason that hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers have been able to come out of poverty in that time period. But we know that this growth is not at all equally distributed. Income and wealth disparities over the same time period have actually widened, where poverty rates up to 2 times higher for New Yorkers of color than for white New Yorkers. We also know that there are increasing gaps in education and healthcare, with wide gaps in performance in our public school system and significantly higher health risks based on income and race. We know that many New Yorkers are also increasingly feeling unstable in their jobs as technology disrupts climate change, nearly every sector. And the nature of work changes across industries. We have a growing gig economy, and that's something that's really changed since 2015 and grown. And we know that we have the capacity for another economic downturn, which could jeopardize a lot of this growth and a lot of the progress we're making, and really would disproportionately impact financially vulnerable New Yorkers. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about the investments that we're making and some of the challenges, especially related to infrastructure. So, we're investing tens of billions of dollars in things like affordable housing, broadening transportation options, improving parks, and making our city more resilient to extreme weather events like hurricanes and heat waves, or, winter storms on a 55-degree day in January. But despite this investment, we know that about half of New Yorkers are rent burdened and pay much more than they can afford in rent. The transportation system is declining. We have underinvestment in the MTA, a lot of delays on the subways especially. And climate change remains a growing existential threat to our city, with communities in all 5 boroughs facing increasing risk of flooding, health risks from extreme heat, and impacts from other extreme events. And both nationally and globally, we have growing intolerance and distrust in public institutions, which threatens our democracy and runs in opposition to our city's legacy as a welcoming home to people from all backgrounds. So in addition to looking at these trends, we've also, since the fall, been asking New Yorkers kind of what they think are the most important issues in the city through a survey. We've heard from every zip code. Over 10,000 people have participated, and we'd really encourage you to share the survey and get more people to participate. But it's probably not surprising that these are kind of the most important issues that have come up so far, and you're allowed to pick more than one. That's why the percentages might seem a little bit weird. But we know that we have a lot of things to work on in terms of these themes, and there's areas where we have made a lot of investments, but there's still a lot more work to do. So this is some of the data that we're looking at as we're working on kind of policy development for 1NYC, and kind of the goal of today is to just kind of hear from you what you would prioritize based on your experience, based on what you're working on in your communities, and just kind of to understand the unique circumstances that you're experiencing. So based on our outreach, which includes working with communities, working with city agencies, businesses, and policy experts, these are kind of the big themes that we're kind of thinking about organizing the new plan around. Creating an inclusive city that is welcoming to all and provides opportunity for all residents, making New York a global leader in fighting climate change by reducing our reliance on fossil fuels, preparing New Yorkers for the future economy through workforce development, investing in modern transportation and other infrastructure critical to our city, addressing health disparities, ensuring all New Yorkers get the care they need, continuing to improve our education system and provide opportunity for all, deepening our investment in emergency preparedness to face physical risks to our city, and budgeting responsibly to ensure our city's financial security for years to come. So with that, I'd like to kind of open it up and hear from you, just whether these themes resonate with you, what would you prioritize, what do you think is missing in kind of this initial approach? I know it's kind of a little bit high level, but we really want to hear from people now as we're kind of thinking about new policies and initiatives for the plan. So yeah, happy to take any questions or comments, and I will attempt to capture them all up here. Thank you.
Any questions regarding the presentation? Yes, Mr. Lofton? Oh.
Good morning. Related to the pre-K program, could you talk a little bit about the analysis that's been done with those students that come into the program that aren't English language speakers or come from another part of the world? How have you been able to capture that type of population and bring them into the pre-K program since its introduction?
I mostly work on climate issues, so I'm not familiar with the exact kind of background on that program, but that's a really good question.
Okay. Well, let me get to the issue of climate. As you know, we have rising sea levels, and here in the Bronx, we have a long coastline. Could you talk a little bit about what you've done over the past several years since Mayor de Blasio's been in office to address those conditions?
Sure. So there's a lot that's been done in terms of hardening our infrastructure, especially working with Con Ed. They've made over $1 billion of investments throughout the city, but a lot of that is making the system more reliable and able to be flooded. So it won't just knock out the power again. There's a lot more kind of control over specific parts of the system, so smaller areas can be shut off if needed. There's also been changes to the building code and zoning in the floodplain, which allows for homeowners and buildings in those areas to kind of more easily adapt and have access to resources to do that, as well as any new construction will have to be built to a higher standard. And there are a lot of kind of smaller, more neighborhood-specific projects around the Bronx that are working on these issues. City planning's doing a lot of work with specific neighborhoods to kind of think about what are the unique attributes of different neighborhoods and how can we address them and what are the challenges. There's a project that I was working on in Hunts Point that's looking at resilient energy and also kind of how to leverage opportunities to make that energy available to the community and actually reduce energy bills. And so we're thinking in kind of a lot of different layers in terms of how to adapt neighborhoods to climate change threats.
Madam Deputy, one last question, please.
But I will say about the language access issue, I can't speak to pre-K specifically, but there was a local law passed last year, or actually in 2017, that requires a lot of agencies to do a lot more around language access. And the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs has a lot of resources available to help agencies kind of make language access plans and implement them.
Okay. And a last question, what is the correlation between what's being done with resiliency and infrastructure that's happening around the borough?
I can't speak to very specific projects. The one I'm most familiar with is Hunts Point, but happy to kind of come back with more information about that.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I wanted to give you perhaps another opportunity to speak to the shorelines specific to the Bronx. I didn't hear an answer to that question.
So a lot of the work is kind of in its early stages right now. I think we're still trying to understand this as an issue. And a lot of these projects kind of are really challenging. And we know that buildings are going to have to change and kind of the way people live in their daily lives are going to have to change. But we're really trying to work with a lot of different communities, and all agencies are working on kind of how to address these issues. I know that DEP is working on green infrastructure in the Bronx, and a lot of different agencies, including emergency management, are working on kind of neighborhood-specific preparedness plans, how to get kind of communities more involved in emergency preparedness. And in terms of the specific areas of the coastline, I can't really speak to specific projects right now, but I can come back to you with more info on that.
Mr. McManus, please.
Yeah, where did you go?
You need a microphone.
When you were talking about, is this on? You can hear me? I can't hear it.
Probably.
When you were talking about infrastructure, you're going to have 1 million more people and whatever. I didn't hear anything about schools, firehouses, police stations. I didn't hear anything about sanitation. I mean, these are the things that you use every day. There's not enough schools in the Bronx now. Since I've been living in the Bronx the last 40-something years, there's been one new precinct, the 4-9. So if all that population's coming, who's going to pick up their garbage? You know, I mean, and all the things that you rely on government every day. And I asked this question about 2 years ago when the mayor was talking about the MIA and ZQA and all this, and, oh, that'll be in the mayor's budget. Well, that was 2 years ago. I haven't seen that in the mayor's budget. I didn't see anything here. If you're going to have all those people, and how are you going to get them around? The number 4 train right now can't handle the traffic. And I'm sure there's, so that's just a general, 1 million people, you're going to have more congestion.
Thank you.
Mr. Acevedo.
Oh, I thought it was just kind of a comment. I mean, those are definitely challenges that we're grappling with right now. Well, it is part of what we're going to be doing, but we're still kind of working on the actual, like, what are the exact initiatives that are going to be in the plan. There are hundreds that go into the plan, so I can't really talk about them exactly right now, but we're working with lots of different agencies to really think about these issues kind of in a holistic way. So kind of breaking down the barriers between agencies and, thinking about mobility in a regional way, in like a intra-borough way, community way. So these are really big problems that we have to figure out as we look into the future. And so this plan is attempting to kind of create a blueprint for the city to be able to think about them and work on them and set goals that we actually have to track every year and report on. So in terms of the specifics, I can't really talk about exactly what's going to be in it yet. But just trying to get a sense of, like, are the priorities that we're thinking about the right ones right now?
Do you have any borough-specific content that you can present today?
Not that I can present today. This exercise is more to just kind of get your feedback on these priorities and how they resonate with you, and we can, as we kind of get more deeper into the plan and this policy development process and working with the agencies, we can definitely come back and talk about how they're going to work in the borough and talk about kind of more borough-specific things. And we're going to plan to have some briefings towards the end of the plan to speak to the details, but we're still kind of working on the details right now.
I think that we would have enjoyed to see some details specific to the Bronx, especially considering we have years of these reports that are, sort of can be manipulated or extracted some information in terms of what has moved forward in the Bronx, and then also, specific information to the Bronx.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Deputy. And I want to my request is piggybacking on what you just said. In the beginning of your presentation, you gave a bunch of success rates. If we can have that broken down by boroughs to see if there are any disparities, because those numbers really don't mean much to us if we don't know how they're effective in this borough. So
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Deputy.
I hear that. Thank you. Any more questions?
Yes. Let's see.
Hi, I just have one comment. I was looking at the PowerPoint page that talks about the most critical issues cited by New Yorkers surveyed. And although I agree with housing, I was surprised to see that immigrant rights only ranked at 12%. And I guess that goes back to borough-based information. Just making a comment based on all of the work that our office does in the Bronx, immigration seems to be a high priority. Mm-hmm. And so I guess that's my answer to question one.
Okay, thank you. So if there's no more questions?
No, there's
there
more
is one more.
questions.
Okay.
There are. Mr. Dudley. I'm sorry, Mr. Brown. Excuse me.
Thank you. I'll reserve a question that's Bronx-specific, since the presentation apparently is more global. I didn't see anything in here about public engagement in aesthetics and design. So I want to know how do you expect or project that the community will be engaged in the development of open space and public spaces?
I guess I would defer to, my Parks Department colleagues and others who work on those specific initiatives to talk about that. I'm not as familiar with how they operate.
Mr. McManus.
When you had that talk about the high schools, was that all the high schools in the city? Or was that just public high schools, not private? Or,
What was the statistic?
There was something about the graduation rate of high school.
Let me see. It's probably just public high schools.
I wrote it down, so right there. So what high schools are you talking about? Public, private, all high schools? Religious?
So this comes from a New York City Comptroller report around high school graduation rates in New York City. I would have to look at the report and see if it's just public or includes private. Okay.
Yes, please.
Can you discuss what measures you're doing to absorb stormwater runoff, to mitigate serious flooding and provide sewer overflow issues? What measures you're looking at?
I can't speak to agency-specific projects today. I don't work for.
Green infrastructure in general, we had mentioned it.
I think we have someone from DEP here today. Maybe they could speak to that later.
Thank you.
Sorry. I wasn't prepared to talk about green infrastructure today, but we've come to the boards and at the borough services level as well and presented on our long-term control plans and green infrastructure in the borough in general. Yeah, I don't know if you had anything more specific, Laura. I mean, we've been to CB8. Yes, yes.
From parts DOT, DEP, to, I was just wondering if, you know.
Right. If, yeah. Okay, sorry.
Thank you, I know you're doing it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any further questions? And bear in mind, we don't always get an opportunity to speak to the mayor's office. No? Nothing? Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you so much. Just encourage you to share the survey and get as many people as you can to weigh in. We are reading everything and we're really taking this seriously. And thank you so much for your time. I'll stick around too if you want to reach me later with more questions. Thanks.
Okay, so we only had one agenda item in terms of today's presentation. So again, we want to thank Ms. Finkelstein for that presentation. We will open up the floor for current events, upcoming events, and announcements. So if there's anyone, any of the board members, representatives who have an announcement to make, upcoming event that they'd like to share with the public. I know you guys are doing something. Okay. Well, don't be jealous, but the borough president. We're having our annual State of the Borough address, which is February 21st, 2009, and we will be having that address at the Samuel Gompers campus this year at 455 Southern Boulevard here in the Bronx, and you can RSVP on our website, right? Yes?
Yes.
Wonderful. And we are now, yeah, right there. The Borough President's Office wants you to be a part of their community, and specifically the community board. So for the public, we are accepting community board applications. I think everyone's aware of that, everyone in this room at least. is aware of it, and applications are due by Friday, February 8th, 2019. Anyone in the gallery that has statements, comments, or otherwise? Yes, Ms. Hill.
The Yankee Scholarship Awards, CD7, and for young people who are getting ready to graduate.
Could you do me a favor? Could you grab one of the microphone? No, it's for the recording. We are aware that you have that particular talent.
CB7 is offering Yankee Scholarship Awards for young people getting ready to go off to high school in the CB7 Community District. So any high school applicant can fill out the form and apply for that Yankee Scholarship Award.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And that's a $750 award. Less money for mom and dad to lay out.
Okay. Hearing none, hearing no other announcements, we will immediately follow this. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's all right.
I'm sharing my mic too much.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Diana Ayala, along with Councilmember Vanessa Gibson and State Senator Jose Serrano, we will be hosting another public charge event next Wednesday, this time in the Highbridge neighborhood of the Bronx at PS 73. So please, I have flyers to distribute, so if you'd like to share them. We have translation services for those Spanish and French speaking in the neighborhood, so spread the word. Thank you very much.
I would also like to expand upon that just a little bit. If anyone knows of anyone who could use any free legal consultations, we are scheduling appointments with Bronx Legal Services for the same day. However, those individuals would need to call our offices by the end of today. We'll say about 5 o'clock. Also, I'd like to announce that Councilmember Gibson, in collaboration with Assemblymember Latoya Joyner, will be hosting a special presentation of Governor Andrew Cuomo's State of the State with the New York City region representative. It will be taking place tomorrow, Friday, January 25th, by 6 p.m. It will be located at the New Settlement Community Center. I have flyers to distribute. Thank you.
Okie dokie, so we will just move forward straight into the budget hearings. I just need a little help, Marisol.
Yes.
Who's first? Who's first?
Bronx Community College. Bronx Community College.
Oh, okay. This is who?
Eddie Valladolid.
Okay. So our presenters, you can step up to the podium as you make your presentation, and we'll take all your comments and then questions from the podium. So that's how we'll do it. And our first, we'll hear from first the Bronx Community College. Who do we have from Bronx Community College? Yes. Following Bronx Community College will be Bronx Children's Museum. So.
Good morning. My name is Eddie Bagdale, and I serve as Vice President for External Relations at Bronx Community College. Normally, David Levers and the President Second Egby, are here together, but they couldn't make it today, so both sent their regrets. On their behalf and on behalf of our students, faculty, and staff, we want to thank the Borough President, the Deputy Borough President, and all of you for the incredible support that you've given us over the years. Bronx Community College is better prepared to serve our students because of you. BCC has more than 10,000 students. They come from 104 countries, speaking 35 languages. And close to 62% are Latinos. About 84% of our first-time students receive financial aid. We offer 40 degree programs and certificate programs. And most recently, we created a certificate and degree program in cybersecurity, trying to stay up cutting edge, and I believe we are the first community college in the city university to be doing that, and approved by the state of New York. Our auto tech program is getting stronger. One of our star students is a female student who attended it a couple of years ago. She is actually moving up the ladder at BMW and has been coming to the campus speaking with our students. One of the things that we've tried to do with some of these programs, like Auto Tech, is to look at non-traditional roles. To continue to offer more opportunities to our students, last spring we partnered with Nissan Infinity. The president, David, and I, along with our other colleagues, have opened up the college to make it a community hub. The annual report that I believe it's in front of you, or you'll get later, tells a longer story about how we're serving our community, and then I have time to go into today. But today, I want to ask your help again. We need to fix BCC's track and field. It's the only one we have. It's right at the center of the campus. Yes, BCC is a beautiful campus, gorgeous. But because it was built in the 1800s, the campus has its challenges. Our track and field is not a safe place for our students and our community who use it. We have problems with the drainage system. We have sinkholes. The soil needs to be stabilized, and we need to regrade the infield and outfield. We are respectfully requesting $1 million, which will be matched by the state if you allow it. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Are there any questions for BCC? Mr. Hall?
Good morning, thank you for your presentation. I was just curious, you said it was going to be $1 million and that's going to be matched?
By the state of New York, yes. That will be next April.
Now, what happens if that budget increases to more than $1 million? Will you still have a match more than $1 million, or is the match going to be state?
The match is, if we receive the $1 million allocation, the match will be $1 million. And we are shovel ready. As soon as we get the match in April, we'll start working and have it ready by 2021.
But my question is, what if you need more additional money? That's my question.
There is $125,000, which will also be rematched, that we're looking for, and we expect to get it. Right. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Faulkner?
Thank you, Deputy. I don't really have a question. I just think I have to brag because they're in our district, councilmen in this district, and have been great community partners. Particularly, I wanted to make reference to the Dominican War Memorial and the work that we did in order to make that come to fruition. I guess I do have one quick question. Is there any forecasting about possibly doing some work on the gymnasium itself?
Well, yes. In fact, we had received support from the borough president, and we're waiting for a date. We have a gorgeous, gorgeous pool that's ready. And we had a date set, but that had to be changed. The borough president had the conflict. We are now working on a new date, and you'll all be invited.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, wonderful, but I'm going to take as much time as I need when Lehman comes, because that's my alma mater, so you should say whatever you need to say. I may gush a little bit, but thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you for your time.
And next we have Bronx Children's Museum, and they'll be followed by Hostos Community College.
Good morning. My name is Tuning Nguyen Petit. I am the Deputy Director of the Bronx Children's Museum. I'm here with Carla Precht, our Executive Director, who most of you will recognize. And I'm here to tell you about an important capital request we will be submitting next month. We will be requesting $600,000 in capital money from the Bronx Borough and the City Council to replace our mobile museum bus with a new eco-friendly electric bus. As many of you know, the Bronx Children's Museum is developing a building near Yankee Stadium. Thanks to the generous support of the Borough President and those of you in this room, the construction of our unique 13,000 square feet state-of-the-art facility is well underway and scheduled to be completed this fall. So why, you may ask, do we still need a bus? The Bronx Children's Museum is reinventing what a children's museum must be in the 21st century. We are a new kind of museum, one with and without walls. For the past 10 years, we have proudly operated as a museum without walls. We have a number of highly effective after-school and in-school programs focusing on nature, arts and culture, and community. In addition, we travel around the Bronx with a big purple bus that we call Museum on the Go. The inside of our bus is a pop-up museum experience. Our current exhibit, Waters on the Go, features a diorama exploring the Bronx River, Orchard Beach, and the High Bridge, and educates children about the natural resources in the Bronx. For 7 years, the Museum on the Go has been visited by more than 80,000 children at 400 festivals and over 85 schools, shelters, and hospitals. We bring the museum experience to children from low-income circumstances to those with special needs and those who are too young to travel in yellow school buses. We work closely with schools and teachers and provide curriculum materials as part of our visits. The bus, which is visited by 16,000 people each year, is a huge hit among children. The normal lifespan of a traditional school bus is less than 10 years. Our bus is 33 years old and has traveled more than 230,000 miles. Quite frankly, our bus is dying. Each year, the bus runs into major maintenance issues, which cost the museum thousands of dollars to repair, causes countless visit cancellations, and results in many disappointed children. Our new bus will be wheelchair accessible, offer heating and AC throughout, have rear exits, and an integrated sound system. It will have an exterior drop-down canopy and will be greater in size to accommodate large groups of visitors. By choosing an eco-friendly electric bus, we can align with the borough's vision of being the greenest borough of the city. Its future generations deserve the most environmentally sound and sophisticated bus. With funding from the city to purchase the bus, the museum will use private funds to customize the interior and pay for general operating costs and upkeep. Without your leadership and help, we will have to end our very popular mobile outreach programs that we are known for throughout the Bronx. However, with your support, we can continue to meet the needs of our youngest constituents through a mobile museum that is accessible to all regardless of age, ability, or geographic location. On behalf of the Bronx Children's Museum and the children of the Bronx, thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any questions?
Yes, do we have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you for that presentation. You're looking for one bus, and it's $600,000? Okay, and it's an electric vehicle. And you mentioned the other $70,000 you're going to raise privately. And it's for the upkeep of the vehicle. So regarding the upkeep, where are you planning to park this vehicle? Where are you planning to charge this vehicle? I'm just curious. We had a presentation recently about electric vehicles in the city, and technology is always changing regarding that. So what kind of bus is this? What's the manufacturer? I think it's awfully high, the price for just one vehicle. So if you can just
those
go
are
in
great
detail with
questions.
that.
You know, they're not your typical traditional electric buses. they won't have the traditional seats that we have on a regular bus. We intend to, customize this bus to recreate the pop-up museum experience. So we probably should have other pictures. But with regards to the question you had related to the charging station, so as you may know, the new Bronx Children's Museum facility will be within the Mill Pond Park location, and we are sharing a building with the Bronx department, and we are hoping that we'll be able to charge our vehicle through their charging station that will be in our parking lot. That's currently in our parking lot.
There is currently a charging station.
But you're hoping to utilize it?
Right.
Yes, we are now in communication with the Bronx Parks Department.
But we have, our missions are almost identical, so we think that there's a very high likelihood that we will be able to do that. And the other thing is that we do have a parking lot currently for our bus, and the folks that allow us to use their parking lot, which is the tennis stadium, the Gotham Stadium folks, and they're very happy to have us continue to keep our vehicle there. So we're very fortunate in that way, because it will be right there. And you are also right that these buses are expensive, but we did a very thorough search. We went all over the tri-state area, and the bus itself is about $300,000, and then the electric engine
Is another $300,000.
And if anybody knows of any cheaper, places to go, but we spent months actually investigating this.
Mr. Hall?
I would like to see you guys get 2 buses for $600,000. So I think that if you negotiate with the manufacturer, it might be a more economical, efficient.
That would be absolutely amazing if we could. Right now, they're not offering to give us any kind of discount or special deal.
Yeah, the engine
Yes,
alone
Mr.
costs
Brown.
$300,000.
From what I understand from your presentation, the bus will be bought new and then customized, correct?
Well, we are hoping to work directly with the manufacturer to customize it directly with them.
To what extent have you investigated purchasing government surplus property for this, or used or donated vehicle?
Well, we've decided that to be really a 21st century children's museum and to really represent the Bronx in the way that they can't hear. Sorry. To be a 21st century children's museum and to represent the Bronx in the way that I think the borough president specifically wants to represent the Bronx as being state of the art and bringing all new technology and greening, throughout the borough, we felt very clear that we needed an electric bus because the electric bus is really the only sustainable green vehicle out there right now. So it's really to represent the Bronx and to bring that 21st century state-of-the-art facility to our children. It's a symbol. We could come up with another donated bus, but it wouldn't have that same representation. And I guess I wanted to add that there are 250,000 children in the Bronx under the age of 9 that are documented. So we know that there's a great demand, and wherever we go with our bus, if you've seen us, we are extremely popular. And that's, you may see us at festivals, but almost on a weekly basis, 3 days a week, we are in the schools and working also in hospitals and shelters. We are everywhere. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions?
Any further questions?
Thank you very much. And thank you very much for all your support of our building. It's going to open in 2020.
We will have Hostos Community College, followed by the great leaving college, producing all types of public servants.
Good morning, everyone. How are you? I'd like to thank you all for allowing me the opportunity to come and present before you today. My name is Joshua Rivera. I'm Director of Government External Relations at the Office of the President, Oslos Community College. I should warn you, one of the worst things you can do for an academic is give them a microphone and an audience, so I'll try to cut my testimony a little short. You can read it all at your leisure later. I'd like to share with you some of the many accomplishments and successes we've achieved over the past year. You know, in 2018, we celebrated our 50th anniversary. In 5 decades of the college, we've grown, matured, and prospered in ways no one could have predicted in 1968. Among some of our key achievements in the last several years, I'd like to note some of the following. Oslos has a significant increase in our 3-year graduation rate from below 8% as early as 2007 to now over 22% in 2018. Oslos leads the way among community colleges in revising its developmental sequence, including co-requisite models reducing the length of the development sequence and employing quantitative reasoning and statistics as alternatives to the algebra calculus sequence. In layman's terms, we've increased our programming in math and science and reading to help students who have to come in and take remedial education not exhaust so much money as in Tap and Pell and get into credit-bearing courses as soon as possible. The college is launching new programs aligned with our workforce needs of the Bronx, including degree and certificate programs in areas of health, technology, criminal justice, and construction management. Some additional notable accomplishments include, for the first time ever, our women's basketball team was the NJCAA Division III National Championships. First time ever for a national championship on our college for the women's team. Our provost, Dr. Mangino, was selected as one of 40 national scholars to participate in the 2018-2019 Aspen Presidential Fellowship Program. And our Continuing Education Workforce Division continues to expand their outreach and offerings, having just received a $150,000 grant from the Capital One Foundation. Again, I'll cut this a little short. So what does all mean in short is that more students are graduating with sharper skills and are better prepared to make their way in an ever-changing economic market. At Oslos, we recognize that we're preparing and educating a workforce for jobs that have not been created yet. We've set the following academic and non-academic goals and priorities to ensure our progress in the future. Full commitment to the student completion agenda with the goal of an on-time graduation rate of 50% by 2022. Ambitious, but we've seen our increase since 2007, and we think we can accomplish the 50% measure by 2022. Expand the University of Momentum campaign by offering winter and summer classes that align with students' curricula. We know at a community college, winter and evening courses are very sought after, so we're trying to put together a package of classes that we can offer to the community for individuals who are looking to expand their education. We're working with our Center for Bronx Nonprofits that many of you know about to maintain and strengthen our relationships with CBOs around the borough. You know, our accomplishments are due in large part to the dedication and commitment of the faculty, staff, and administrators at Oslos, who search each and every day for opportunities to make the learning experience an enjoyable one for our students. Community college capital quest, and we've enjoyed the support of the borough president over a number of years in capital dollars. This is for the 5th and final stage of the 500 building. As you know, in the past, monies have been allocated for the renovation of the 500 building. We started on the 5th floor, worked our way down to the 3rd. We are now about to complete the 2nd floor and the basement renovation, which will complete the 5-story, 135,000 square foot renovation of the 500 building. We've upgraded our accessibility components. We've allowed now access between the B and the C building. If you're familiar with the campus where the bridge is, that's the C building. Next to that is the B building. In the past, you had to exit the B to go outside to get to the C. Now you can traverse the B and the C via the 5th, 4th, and 3rd floors through passageways that we cut through. We've expanded our programming classes in those buildings, updated our technology for our faculty and administration, and we renovated our enrollment division and our human resources division, which is a very important component of the college. So for this year, to begin the 5th and final stage, we are respectfully requesting $3 million, which will be matched by the state, to complete the final project, which is, of course, the 2nd and the basement renovations of the 500 building at 500 Grand Concourse. Any questions?
Thank you so much for that presentation. Do we have any questions?
Mr. Love. Here we go.
Thank you, Deputy. Related to the $3 million, and you talked a little bit about what you've done and plan to do in the area of IT. Is that going to also include in your expansion issues of artificial intelligence and robotics that you're trying to bring into the fore with your students?
So, and with IT, regarding IT, we recently started a program that does an IT apprenticeship program.
Okay.
The Continuing Education Division was awarded a grant to expand that programming. We don't do a robotics program on campus. As a community college, we don't have that level of expertise. We don't do that level of research on the campus. We do train students in IT to be able to catapult them to four-year colleges like Lehman, where we build articulation agreements like Orbit City College in engineering, so they can continue their education elsewhere and get a more advanced degree somewhere else.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Hall?
Just want to compliment you on being an engaged community college that has really made an impact on, in the last 50 years, on the population.
We very much appreciate that.
Thank you. And my question is, though, how much of the tuition that you charge impacts your budget? I mean, what percentage of the tuition pretty much is used for whatever portion of your budget?
You know, the community and SUNY colleges all have a sort of capped tuition, so it rotates right back in. I have less than 5% of my students are on student loans. Most of them are on TAP and Pell. We have, I shouldn't say unfortunately, the governor initiated the Excelsior Scholarship Program last year, which is a great program, doesn't do a lot for community college students because TAP and Pell covers so much of their tuition already. Most of them aren't eligible to apply for it, for two reasons. One, they don't meet the financial threshold for it, and two, a lot of community colleges students don't go full-time, and that's one of the criteria for the Excelsior program. So I have first-year students at a rate where about 90% start first-time full-time students. By year two, they drop off to about 70%. They go part-time. The rigors of college for a lot of our students who are parents themselves, caring for their families, they can't do a full-time course load, and they're unfortunately not eligible for the Excelsior Scholarship at that point.
So you're not able to really make any adjustments in the tuition in terms of increasing and offsetting budgets?
No, we wouldn't increase our tuition. First of all, it wouldn't be our call anyway, but we would not support a tuition increase. That would impede our students greatly.
Okay, just a question. All right, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Well, we'll go to Mr. McManus and then back to you. Is that
what is the median graduation rate of community colleges?
Averagely, the national average is about.
Let's say in New York City.
Well, I can give you the national. The national average is about 16%. 16% is about the national average. So we're at 22 with a goal of 50 by 2022. It's ambitious. It's requiring a lot of adjusting of our programming on our campus, a lot of resources around aiding students who are facing homeless challenges, food insecurities, employment issues. A lot of the things that we don't do particularly well, right? We do higher education really, really well. What I don't do is food insecurity. What I don't do is housing development. I don't do those things. So what we do is spend a lot of time partnering with outside organizations who do those services really, really well. And so when I have a student come to me and say, I have problem X, we can turn to a list of organizations that we have relationships with to say, okay, we're going to partner you with the right organization to help facilitate that issue. On the higher ed piece, I'll handle that. But all the other pieces, I have to refer you elsewhere. That's just not what we do particularly well.
Okay. You're asking for $3 million from the Borough President's office, correct?
Correct.
And that would come from the state, also a $3 million match?
There's a match. So one of the conundrums for community colleges in the CUNY system is we have to have all our funds matched. The senior colleges, my colleague who will come up next, they have to only go to the state. They don't have to ask for both. I have to get monies from both the city and the state in a match. So if you allocate $3 million, I have to get a $3 million allocation to be able to facilitate the project. It's one of the conundrums of the community college system. Why it was designed that way in the beginning, I don't know, but we do have to do the 50-50 match from city and state.
Okay. And after you get this match, which I know you're going to get, Where will that take you into the next fiscal year as far as what you need to finish up the entire work that you're looking to do on this project?
This will begin phase 5 and just should
Okay.
lead to completion of the phase 5, which is the second floor and the basement of the 5th floor. You should all come by and see it. It's really
No, I've been
remarkable.
there.
It's of all the buildings that we have, it's the most
I know.
modern, up-to-date building of all 3 buildings that we have right now.
It's good. Thank you.
All right.
Any other questions? I know everyone's excited to hear from Lehman.
I'm just
No-
gonna.
no offense. I like to try to create a little bit of a rivalry.
It's a good thing we're friends.
Thank you so much. Let's give. And as we welcome Lehman College, they'll be followed by the Trust for Public Land.
Good morning. I'm Renee Rotolo, the Assistant Vice President for Campus Planning and Facilities at Lehman College. It's such a pleasure to see so many Lehman alum here. It really warms my heart. Dr. Jose Luis Cruz, President of Lehman College, sends his regards and thanks you for your continuing support of Lehman College and for this opportunity to present our capital needs. Lehman College's Department of Nursing offers undergraduate and graduate programs to a culturally diverse student body. Nursing is one of the college's largest degree programs. Our program is the only public nursing program in the Bronx and the largest public program of its kind between Hunter College in Manhattan and SUNY Binghamton. To accommodate expansion of the program and provide new teaching and training technologies that support current and future nursing pedagogy, campus-based simulation labs, and provide resources for candidates in our new doctoral program in nursing practice to engage in research, we will break ground on a new nursing education, research, and practice center. This state-of-the-art nursing facility will contribute more opportunities for high-quality healthcare education and, in turn, better healthcare opportunities. Healthcare is the largest industry and employer in the Bronx. To support healthcare education in the Bronx, we're requesting $5 million in funding for outfitting and equipping the new facility. The City Council provided funding for the design and construction of a new teaching and learning commons at Lehman College. Through the design process, the facility has evolved into a center for innovation in research and pedagogy where faculty, staff, and students will collaborate, share ideas on best education practices, and work on projects in an open and cross-disciplinary manner. It's a place for experimentation, learning, innovation, and scholarly research. It's a place to discover new strategies for engaging students, to experiment with technology, contribute to the scholarship of teaching and learning, and partner with students to generate new knowledge. To outfit this facility, Lehman requests $1.9 million for furnishings, equipment, and technology. Lehman College requests $350,000 to install new LED theatrical lighting and a new dimming system to control the lighting in the college's black box theater, known as the Studio Theater. In addition to extensive use for student productions by the music, multimedia, theater, and dance departments, the facility also provides rehearsal, performance, and conference space for local arts, civic, and government organizations. On behalf of Lehman College, I thank you for your consideration of our requests and for your continuing support of Lehman.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Mr. Hall?
The gentleman that spoke before you, I think he was saying that the senior colleges do receive matching funds or do not receive matching funds?
We do not receive matching funds. We are fully funded by the state for our larger capital projects and for our operating dollars.
So whatever the request is, if we make it, you will not be receiving additional?
No, we will not.
Okay.
We will
Just
not.
wanted to get that
Thank
straight.
you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? You can ask questions. You sure? Okay. Well, I want to thank you for coming today.
My pleasure.
Lehman College, of course, has produced such luminaries as our own current borough president and deputy borough president and others on the board. So much continued success.
Thank you so much. Thank you all very much.
And next we'll have the Trust for Public Land, followed by our last presenter, Pregona's Theater, Puerto Rican Traveling Theater.
Morning. Thank you for having me. Please note that all of the handouts are double-sided. Sometimes it's hard to notice that. My name is Kuros Maksudi. I am the program coordinator for the New York City Playgrounds program at the Trust for Public Land. The Trust for Public Land is a national nonprofit that creates, preserves, and protects parks, gardens, and other natural areas. In New York City, our goal is to put a park or playground within a 10-minute walk of every child, especially those living in low-income neighborhoods. Research confirms what we see every day, that parks and playgrounds improve physical health, strengthens communities, and creates more attractive and livable neighborhoods. Since 1996, our New York City Playgrounds program has helped transform over 200 public schoolyards from barren asphalt lots into vibrant outdoor play spaces. These playgrounds include gardens, trees, turf fields, running tracks, basketball courts, play equipment, outdoor classrooms, and many other community amenities. Through innovative green infrastructure design, each site also captures an average of 700,000 gallons of stormwater per year, which protects the New York City waterways. The sites are open to the public during after-school hours and also summer, so they serve as a place for neighbors and families to gather. To date in the Bronx, we have helped create 19 playgrounds in neighborhoods from Mott Haven to Kingsbridge. Currently, thanks to the Borough President Ruben Diaz Jr. and Council Member Salamanca, we have IS 339X in Claremont Village in design, and we also have Entrada Academy in Foxhurst in construction. The cornerstone of our program is our 3-month participatory design process, which engages students and community members in the design. Students measure the schoolyard, survey their peers for ideas, and learn about budgeting and green design. The results are playgrounds that are valued and cared for by their communities. By directly involving students in key decisions, the design process fosters a sense of ownership, pride, and responsibility among students towards their school's new playground. The Trust for Public Land makes a long-term commitment to our school and community partners. We stay involved after the playground has opened to provide continued environmental education, training, and stewardship support, working with teachers and parents to inspire city children to learn about and love the natural world. The Trust for Public Land raises private funds to cover soft costs of the project, which amounts to about $333,000. And these costs include landscape architects, staff time, our 10-year stewardship and repair fund, and we combine that with funding from the School Construction Authority, the Department of Environmental Protection, and local elected officials for the construction. We have recently identified 2 schoolyards in need of improvement in the Bronx. That's PS 107X, which is in Classen Point, and also Bronx Latin, which is in Maury Sania. And we would be really grateful for your support in bringing our program to these deserving communities. We welcome the opportunity to discuss these projects in more detail with council members and the Borough President. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions, comments, concerns? Yes, Mr. Lofton, followed by Mr. Dutton.
Good morning. I just wanted to know what your actual ask was for this fiscal year.
Sure. So each schoolyard costs around $1.3 million, and like I mentioned, we cover the soft costs, which amounts to $300,000, $333,000. So for each of these 2 sites, we're asking for $1 million. Yeah.
Could you tell me where the locations of the schools are?
Sure. I have that right here. So Bronx Latin is in Maury Sania, and 107X is in Classen Point. And the address is actually on this handout. Yeah, so these are the 2 schools we're asking for. These are pictures of the 2 sites.
Yes.
Do you anticipate increasing the number of schools, per year or per 5-year plan? How do those numbers look? What are you able to accommodate?
Yeah, so we are a 20-year program. We've been around for 20 years. And we have a team of 5 people at the Trust for Public Land. And right now we're at our full capacity, so we do about 10 sites in our pipeline a year. And with our capacity right now, we're not going to expand past 10 sites per year. But if we do in the future maybe increase our staff size, we would have the capacity, but right now our average is about 10 playgrounds a year.
That's remarkable.
Thank you.
So you have a strong background in terms of you've done the playground sites. Do you have any that you can share with the board?
I'm sorry, I didn't print out enough. Or, if you look at the back of my testimony, this is a site we did in the Bronx. This is in Bronxnet. Do you have one?
I don't, but that's okay. Continue.
Okay.
So I was hoping, no, it's okay. Because we all represent different parts of the borough, it would be advantageous for the board members to know maybe there's a site in their district or their area that has been transformed. I know you guys have a strong and positive history of the work that you've done. So maybe you've driven by it or you've seen one and you didn't know who did it. So.
Well, we have about 19. I'm pretty new to this program, so I don't really know all the neighborhoods that we're in. But if you're interested in knowing if we're in your neighborhood that you represent, feel free to contact us, and I'll send you the closest site, and you can check it out, just so you can see it firsthand what our projects look like.
How are your sites chosen?
So there's a lot of different methods. It depends on what our priority is at the time. Sometimes we're working with DEP to see the areas that will have the most flooding and needs help with water management in terms of sewage. At times we have a GIS team that determines which neighborhoods have really high BMI levels and need more physical activity, so sometimes we use that metric. And then sometimes it comes to the point where a council member will approach us and say, hey, this is a needy site and this community doesn't have any outdoor active space. So they come up to us and we work something out. So there's different approaches.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Have a great day. And last but certainly not least, we have Pregonis Theater.
Good morning. My name is Alvan Colon Lespier. I am Associate Artistic Director of Pregones, Puerto Rican Traveling Theater. And just to offer a little bit of context, we, as a professional theater company based here in the Bronx, have been doing our work in our underlying communities for nearly 40 years now. And we are very proud to be an anchor artists and arts institution here in the Bronx. Stand alone. We're not affiliated with any major organization. We are our own organization. Recently, we merged with the Puerto Rican Traveling Theater, which was founded by Miriam Colon. And the Puerto Rican Traveling Theater has a theater, it's a city-owned building, in mid-Manhattan, smack in the middle of the Broadway district. I mention this because it's very important for us to be clear that we at Pregones have no intention of just developing work here in the Bronx in order to take it down to Manhattan. No, this is our base of operations. From here, we run it. And it is our interest and has been our intent to share our work with our Bronx communities at low cost and free attendance when possible. Now, you have our capital request For the 2020 capital budget cycle, we are requesting support for our first major Bronx equipment upgrade in close to 10 years. We are requesting funds for installing a new theatrical and house lighting system for pregones, which will replace the outmoded tungsten and lights and incandescent light fixtures and operating boards with next generation LED fixtures and digital consoles. And this will really upgrade our facility, and it will, of course, enhance patron and employee safety and comfort, improved energy efficiency with significantly reduced operating costs. To give you a sense, a regular incandescent theatrical light bulb will give off close between 70 and 90% of its energy as radiant heat. So that's a lot of waste. Whereas with this new technology of LED, it's all going to the lighting. And we will, well, as I mentioned, improve the facility, the efficiency, and the estimated cost of the whole project is $390,000, and that's what we are honorably requesting. So thank you.
Do we have any questions? Well, I think that's the mark of a great presentation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you for having me here.
Yeah, exactly. So that wraps up our budget hearings for today for this budget hearing fiscal year 2020. We thank you all for coming and being here today. Do we have any additional comments or concerns related to anything? Mr. McManus.
What happens when, I'm new to this, so I just want to, when you or any elected official allots $1 million or $2 million, what happens when the project goes way over budget?
That's a good question. We are in the habit of funding the projects that are completely funded and have a anticipation of not going over budget. It's true that happens. I don't have a good answer for that. It's obviously not a desirable thing, and we don't experience that often. Budget. Please introduce yourself and.
Betty McRae, Director of Capital Programs. What usually happens, the most time we really go over budget, or if the project comes up where it's over budget and it extends stuff, is usually dealing with SCA, the School Construction Authority, because of the amount of work that may have to go into an auditorium by picking up chairs, and they may say asbestos, but usually the borough president's not in the habit of funding the project, adding more money to a project that asks for more money, because most of the time he doesn't have it. And sometimes he's not in the habit of funding projects that he believes that SCA should be responsible for paying, is what I'm saying, adding additional money to it.
So if there's an opportunity that we're able to help fund something and it runs over, it's not likely that we'll be able to then add additional funds, because we have the pot is only but so big as it is.
No, I understand
so
that.
yeah.
I'm just saying, I was in construction work for 42 years, and I know projects go over. I I was just wondering, is, from what I'm hearing, it doesn't happen. Your allotment would not exist.
Right, right,
Okay, that's
right.
what I wanted.
Yes,
Thank you.
right. Good question, though, Mr. Hall.
And who makes the final decision on the budget? Committee or president, or you?
The borough president. Yeah, absolutely. Ms. Hill?
Since this is fairly new for me also, so we've had a number of presentations today asking for capital funding. Now, is this the first step in the process? Is there another step after this? Or all of them going to be granted some sort of funding? What's the whole process of it?
We don't have everyone here, obviously, that requested some type of funding through the borough president's office. There is a application process, and that predated this hearing, so everyone has put in their respective applications and paperwork regarding funding that they would have, and then they're given the opportunity to come here today and then present further on why they feel that their request should be granted. Of course, the budget being the budget, being unpredictable at times, what will be actually within that pot to be allocated, things change and priorities change with them. Yes, audience. You just have to speak into the mic.
Hi, my name is S.A. Again, I'm a reporter. I work at a new website called The City. We do investigative reporting on New York. I've spent the last several weeks reading through the statements of needs for all of the community boards. So I'm really interested in everything that you guys are interested in and would love to talk to people. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. But would love to talk to people. Thanks again for the time, and I'm really excited to meet everyone. Thank you. Sorry.
Okay. So that sounds like a little offline conversation. We thank you for being here and thank you for your comments. Anyone else? Okay. Hearing none and seeing no other inquiries, we will adjourn till next month. Thank you so much.